Welcome, traveler. Tonight, we journey through the shadows of a galaxy far, far away. Not the battles you know, not the heroes you've celebrated, but the mysteries that linger in the spaces between. The questions that have no clear answers. The secrets that sleep in ancient temples and drift through the cosmic void. Let the familiar music fade. Let the light of twin suns dim. Tonight, we explore what remains unknown. Close your eyes. Breathe. And let the mysteries unfold. ACTI. The beginning of EVRYTHING, the Force and Cosmic Origins. Before there were Jedi, before there were Sith, there was only the Force. Mystery 1. The Origin of the Force. In the beginning, there was energy. Not fire, not light, but something deeper. The Force existed before language could name it, before consciousness could understand it. But where did it come from? Some ancient texts suggest the Force is not a creation at all, but the foundation of reality itself. The living energy that binds everything together, that flows through all living things, may simply be the universe experiencing itself. It has no beginning because it is beginning. It has no end because it is eternal. But why does it have two sides? The light and the dark are not good and evil, despite what the Jedi teach. They are balance and imbalance, peace and passion, stillness and motion. The Jedi interpretation of the light as righteousness and the dark as corruption may be the greatest misunderstanding in galactic history. The Force itself does not judge. It simply is. The Sith saw power and passion. The Jedi saw wisdom and peace. But perhaps the Force sees both as necessary. Perhaps it sees either. The mystery remains, did the Force create consciousness, or did consciousness create the Force? And if either, what cosmic intelligence set these rules into motion? We may never know. And perhaps that's exactly as it should be. Mystery 2. The nature of midichlorians. For millennia, the Force was understood as purely mystical. Then the Jedi discovered something that changed everything: midichlorians. Microscopic life forms living inside the cells of all living beings, creating a symbiotic relationship that allowed some to touch the Force. But this discovery raised more questions than it answered. Are midichlorians the source of Force sensitivity, or merely the mechanism through which living beings connect to something that already exists? Are they conscious? Do they have purpose? And most troubling of all, if the Force can be measured by counting cellular organisms, does that make it biology, not mysticism? The answer may be both. Science and mysticism are not opposites. They are simply different languages describing the same truth. Midichlorians may be the voice through which the Force speaks to organic life. The higher the count, the clearer the voice. But the message itself comes from somewhere else. Somewhere deeper. Qui-Gon Jinn believed midichlorians allowed beings to hear the will of the Force. But what if midichlorians don't just listen? What if they choose? What if they're drawn to certain individuals not by accident, but by design? What if they have their own agenda, their own purpose in the grand cosmic scheme? Anakin Skywalker had a midichlorian count higher than Master Yoda himself. Born of no father, as if the Force itself willed him into existence. Was this the midichlorians acting on their own? Or something far older speaking through them? The question remains unanswered. And in that silence, there is wonder. Mystery 3. The Celestials and their fate. Long before the Galactic Republic, before even the earliest hyperdrive technology, there existed beings of almost incomprehensible power. The Celestials. Some call them the architects. Others call them gods. They did not merely use the Force. They reshaped entire star systems with it. They moved planets. They created hyperspace routes that would later become the foundation of galactic travel. They built monuments so massive, so ancient, that even now we cannot fully understand their purpose. But then they vanished. No war destroyed them. No plague erased them from history. They simply left, or transcended, or returned to whatever cosmic realm they came from. The mystery of their disappearance is matched only by the mystery of why they were here at all. Some scholars believe the Celestials were the first beings to truly understand the Force. That they achieved a level of harmony with it that no Jedi or Sith has since matched. Others believe they became too powerful, that they tried to control the Force itself, and that the universe corrected their hubris by removing them entirely. Did they leave behind warnings? Instructions? Or did they simply grow beyond the need for physical form and ascend to something we cannot perceive? On forgotten worlds their temples still stand. Silent. Waiting. And in those temples there are chambers that have never been opened. Doors that have never been breached. What secrets do they hold? What knowledge did the Celestials deem too dangerous to share? Perhaps we are not meant to know. Perhaps some mysteries are best left in the dark. Dominance. The daughter desired peace and harmony, just as the light seeks order. And the father stood between them, not choosing sides, but maintaining the tension necessary for both to exist. When Anakin Skywalker arrived on Mortis, the father tested him. Not to see if he was good or evil, but to see if he could replace the father himself. To become the one who holds the balance. But Anakin failed the test. He could not control both the son and the daughter. He could not hold the center. And when the father died, when the son and daughter perished, did the balance die with them? Or did it simply transfer elsewhere? Some believe the father's role passed to Anakin, even if he didn't realize it. That his ultimate redemption, his destruction of Palpatine and fulfillment of the prophecy, was him finally becoming what the father wanted him to be. But others believe the Mortis gods were not unique. That somewhere in the galaxy, new embodiments of these forces are being born. That the Force always creates what it needs to maintain itself. If that's true, then who are they? Where are they? And what happens when they awaken? Mystery 4. The Mortis Gods. In a realm outside normal space and time, there exists a place called Mortis. And on Mortis, there lived three beings of pure Force energy: the father, the son, and the daughter. The father represented balance. The son embodied the dark side. The daughter, the light. Together, they maintained equilibrium in the Force itself, far from the petty conflicts of Jedi and Sith. But their existence raises a profound question: were they individuals, or avatars of something greater? The son craved freedom and power, just as the dark side seeks dominance. The daughter desired peace and harmony, just as the light seeks order. And the father stood between them, not choosing sides, but maintaining the tension necessary for both to exist. When Anakin Skywalker arrived on Mortis, the father tested him. Not to see if he was good or evil, but to see if he could replace the father himself. To become the one who holds the balance. But Anakin failed the test. He could not control both the son and the daughter. He could not hold the center. And when the father died, when the son and daughter perished, did the balance die with them? Or did it simply transfer elsewhere? Some believe the father's role passed to Anakin, even if he didn't realize it. That his ultimate redemption, his destruction of Palpatine and fulfillment of the prophecy, was him finally becoming what the father wanted him to be. But others believe the Mortis gods were not unique. That somewhere in the galaxy, new embodiments of these forces are being born. That the Force always creates what it needs to maintain itself. If that's true, then who are they? Where are they? And what happens when they awaken? Mystery 5. The meaning of the Mortis arc. The journey to Mortis was not an accident. The Force itself drew Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka to that realm. But why? On Mortis, time flows differently. The past, present, and future blur together. Anakin was shown visions of his future as Darth Vader. He saw the destruction he would cause, the pain he would bring to those he loved. The Father erased these memories, believing that knowledge of the future would drive Anakin toward it rather than away from it. But was that the right choice? The Mortis arc teaches us that the Force is not linear. It does not move in one direction. Destiny is not fixed. The future is always in motion. And yet, certain events seem inevitable, as if the universe itself is telling a story that must be told a certain way. Anakin's fall. Luke's rise. Rey's emergence. Are these truly choices, or are they echoes of a pattern that repeats across generations? The Mortis arc suggests that balance is not a state of being, but a constant struggle. Light and dark do not rest. They push against each other eternally, and it is in that tension that life exists. Without darkness, light has no meaning. Without light, darkness cannot be defined. The Father understood this. The Jedi did not. And that misunderstanding may be why the Jedi Order fell. The mystery of Mortis is not what happened there. It's what it means for everyone else. If balance requires both light and dark, then what are we supposed to do with that knowledge? Perhaps we are meant to stop fighting the darkness within ourselves and instead learn to coexist with it. To acknowledge it without being consumed by it. To be like the Father, aware of both sides, controlled by neither. That is the lesson Mortis offers. And it is the lesson the galaxy has yet to learn. Before there were Jedi, before there were Sith, the Force already had rules. And Watchers. But as consciousness awakened and civilizations rose, new mysteries emerged. Not cosmic, but personal. Not universal, but intimate. The ancient orders were forming. And with them, questions that have never been answered. ACT-2, Ancient Orders and Forgotten SPCIS Mystery 6, The True History of the Sith Species. Before there were Sith Lords, there were the Sith people. A red-skinned, Force-sensitive species native to the planet Korriban, later known as Moraband. But their story has been buried beneath millennia of darkness and misinterpretation. Were the original Sith evil by nature? Or were they corrupted by those who came after? Ancient records suggest the Sith species were powerful in the Force, but not inherently malevolent. They built empires, yes. They practiced rituals that the Jedi would later call dark. But so did many ancient civilizations. The Sith were simply one of many Force-using cultures that predated the Jedi Order. Everything changed when the Dark Jedi arrived. Exiled from the Jedi Order for embracing passion and power, these fallen warriors fled to the remote worlds of the Sith. And there, they found a people who could help them become more powerful than the Jedi could ever imagine. The Dark Jedi interbred with the Sith species, creating a new lineage. They enslaved the native population, claiming their knowledge, their temples, their very identity. Over time, the name, Sith, stopped referring to a species and started referring to an ideology. A philosophy of power through passion. Of freedom through strength. Of victory through domination. But here's the mystery: did the Sith species welcome this transformation? Or were they victims of it? Ancient texts disagree. Some suggest the original Sith saw the Dark Jedi as prophesied saviors. Others suggest they resisted until they were broken. And in the end, the species itself faded into extinction, absorbed into the bloodlines of those who conquered them. Their culture became a weapon. Their history became a legend. And their name became synonymous with evil itself. But somewhere in the galaxy, there may still be descendants of the original Sith. Those who carry the blood of that ancient species. Do they know what they are? Do they feel the pull of the dark side in their very genetics? Or have they moved beyond the sins of their ancestors? The answer is lost to time. But the question remains. Mystery 7, the Bendu and the In-Between. The Jedi teach that there is the light side and the dark side. The Sith teach that there is only power. But there is a third voice. An ancient voice. One that speaks from the center. the Bendu. On the planet Adelon, the Ghost crew encountered a massive, ancient force wielder who called himself the Bendu. He claimed to be the one in the middle, existing in harmony with both the light and the dark, refusing to choose a side. He wielded incredible power, but would not act unless provoked. He offered wisdom, but would not guide others toward a particular path. But who was he? And was he the only one? Ancient Jedi texts reference the Bendu monks, an order that predated the Jedi themselves. Some scholars believe these monks were the true originators of Force philosophy, and that the Jedi represent only one branch of their teachings. If that's true, then the Jedi Order itself was built on an incomplete understanding of the Force. The Bendu rejected the binary thinking of Jedi and Sith. He did not see balance as the destruction of the dark side, but as coexistence with it. He embodied what the Jedi fear most: neutrality. The refusal to take sides in the endless war between light and dark. But is true neutrality even possible? Can one wield the Force without being pulled toward one side or the other? The Bendu's existence suggests yes. But his anger, when provoked, was terrible. When the Ghost crew brought war to his world, he lashed out with the fury of a storm, attacking both the rebellion and the Empire without discrimination. This raises a troubling question: is neutrality just another word for chaos? If you refuse to stand for anything, do you become a danger to everything? Or perhaps the Bendu understood something the Jedi and Sith never could: that the Force is not a battlefield. It is a spectrum. And those who walk the middle path are not weak. They are simply free. There may be others like the Bendu. Beings who have transcended the need to choose sides. Wandering the galaxy, observing, waiting. Watching as the Jedi and Sith destroy each other over and over again, knowing that neither side will ever truly win. And perhaps, in the end, they are right. Mystery 8. Yoda's Species. For over 900 years, Yoda served the Jedi Order. He trained countless Padawans. He sat on the Jedi Council. He witnessed the fall of the Republic and survived the rise of the Empire. And yet, in all that time, no one ever learned where he came from. Yoda's species has no name. No homeworld. No recorded history. In the entire documented history of the galaxy, only a handful of beings have ever been identified as members of his species: Yoda himself, Yaddle, and later, Grogu. Why is this species so rare? And why are they so extraordinarily powerful in the Force? Some theories suggest that Yoda's species is naturally attuned to the Force in ways other species are not. That their biology, their very existence, is intertwined with the living energy of the universe. Others believe they are descendants of an ancient Force-using culture that deliberately hid itself from the galaxy. But the most intriguing theory is this: Yoda's species may not be from this galaxy at all. The unknown regions. Wild space. Hyperspace anomalies. There are places in the universe that have never been fully explored, regions where the laws of physics bend and the Force flows differently. What if Yoda's people came from somewhere beyond the known galaxy? What if they are explorers, or refugees, or missionaries sent to guide others toward understanding the Force? Yoda himself never spoke of his past. He deflected questions with humor or silence. Was this because he didn't remember? Or because he was forbidden to speak of it? Did he take an oath of secrecy? Or was his past so painful, so tragic, that he chose to leave it behind entirely? And then there is Grogu. A child of the same species, hidden away, hunted by the remnants of the Empire. Why? What makes him so valuable? Is it simply his Force sensitivity, or is there something about his species that the Empire, and perhaps even Palpatine, understood that the Jedi did not? The mystery of Yoda's species is one of the galaxy's most enduring. And it may never be solved. Perhaps that's by design. Perhaps anonymity is their greatest protection. After all, you cannot destroy what you cannot find. Mystery 9. The Bedlam Spirits. On the ancient Sith world of Moraband, there exists a temple. And within that temple, there are guardians. Not living. Not entirely dead. The Bedlam Spirits. When Yoda journeyed to Moraband as part of his quest to understand the secrets of immortality, he encountered these entities. twisted, shrieking apparitions that attacked without mercy. But what were they? Some believe the Bedlam spirits are the corrupted souls of ancient Sith, trapped within the temple by dark rituals. Others suggest they are Force constructs, guardians created by long-dead Sith lords to protect their secrets. But there is a third possibility, one that is far more disturbing. What if the Bedlam spirits are not individuals at all, but fragments of the dark side itself? What if they are the accumulated pain, anger, and suffering that has soaked into Moraband over millennia of Sith occupation? The planet itself is a wound in the Force, a place where so much darkness has gathered that it has taken on a kind of sentience. The Bedlam spirits do not speak. They do not reason. They simply attack, driven by instinct and rage. And yet they serve a purpose. They keep intruders away from the deepest secrets of the Sith. They ensure that only those strong enough, or dark enough, can access the knowledge hidden within. But here's the mystery: if the Bedlam spirits are guardians, what are they guarding? What lies deeper in that temple that even these tormented entities must protect? And if Yoda, one of the most powerful Jedi ever to live, barely escaped them, what does that say about the true nature of the dark side? Perhaps the Bedlam spirits are a warning. A reminder that the darkness does not simply disappear when a Sith Lord dies. It lingers. It accumulates. It waits. And it is always hungry. Mystery 10. The Anzellans? Small, furry, and often overlooked, the Anzellans are a species that few pay attention to. They appear in the background of galactic events, skilled technicians and engineers who can fix almost anything. But there is more to them than meets the eye. Babu Frick, the tiny Anzellan droidsmith who helped the resistance on Kijimi, possessed knowledge that should not have been possible. He could bypass first-order encryption. He could reprogram C-3PO to access forbidden Sith data. He had connections to the galaxy's underworld and access to technology that most engineers could only dream of. How? The Anzellans are not conquerors. They are not warriors. And yet, they seem to be everywhere, at every major moment in history, quietly working behind the scenes. They repair ships for smugglers. They build weapons for criminals. They maintain technology for both the rebellion and the Empire. But why? What do they gain from this? Are they simply opportunists, or is there a larger purpose? Some believe the Anzellans are record keepers. That their true mission is not to build, but to observe. Every device they repair, every ship they touch, gives them access to information. They see everything. They know everyone. And they never take sides. Others suggest the Anzellans are survivors of an ancient catastrophe, a species that learned long ago that the only way to endure is to be useful to everyone. To never be seen as a threat. To be so small, so unassuming, that they are allowed to exist in spaces where others would be destroyed. But the most intriguing theory is this: the Anzellans may have connections to the ancient Celestials. Their technology is too advanced. Their knowledge is too vast. And their presence at key moments in history suggests they are not simply bystanders, but custodians of something far older than the Republic or the Empire. What are they protecting? What do they know that others do not? And when the galaxy faces its greatest crisis, whose side will they truly be on? The Anzellans remain a mystery. And perhaps that is exactly how they want it. The ancient ones fade into legend. The forgotten species disappear into the margins of history. But what they leave behind remains. Objects of power. Relics that carry memory. Artifacts that refuse to die. Now we turn to the things that endure. The weapons. The knowledge. The tools of the Force that pass from hand to hand, generation to generation, carrying secrets with them. ACT-3, Artifacts, Relics, and Power past DOWN Mystery 11, Jedi and Sith Relics. A lightsaber is not just a weapon. A holocron is not just a data storage device. In the hands of a Force user, these objects become something more. They become echoes of those who wielded them before. The Jedi understood this. Every Padawan constructs their own lightsaber, imbuing it with their connection to the Force during the creation process. The Kyber crystal itself is alive, in a way, resonating with the energy of its wielder. When a Jedi holds their lightsaber, they are holding a piece of themselves. The Sith understood this too, but they twisted it. Sith lightsabers burn red not because the crystals are naturally that color, but because the Sith bleed them. They pour their pain, their anger, their hatred into the crystal until it cracks and turns crimson. The crystal screams in the Force. It suffers. And in that suffering, it becomes more powerful. But what happens when these relics are lost? When they are buried in temples, hidden in tombs, or scattered across the galaxy? They wait. Jedi holocrons contain the teachings of ancient masters. They are programmed with personalities, with wisdom, with warnings. But some contain more than that. Some contain secrets that the Jedi Order deliberately hid away. Techniques too dangerous to teach. Knowledge too powerful to share. Sith relics are even more treacherous. A Sith holocron does not simply teach. It tempts. It corrupts. It whispers promises of power to anyone who opens it, regardless of their intentions. And in the wrong hands, a single Sith artifact can birth a new generation of darkness. The mystery is this: how many of these relics still exist? The Jedi Temple on Coruscant was ransacked after Order 66. The Sith temples on Moraband, Malachor, and Exegol have stood for millennia, largely undisturbed. How many artifacts lie dormant, waiting for someone to find them? And more troubling, do these objects have a will of their own? Do they call out to those who are ready to wield them? Or do they simply wait, patient and eternal, knowing that eventually, someone will come? The Force works in mysterious ways. And the tools of the Force may be more mysterious still. Mystery 12: The Fate of Lost Artifacts. Across the galaxy, there are collectors. Not of art or wealth, but of power. Beings who seek out Force artifacts, not to use them, but to keep them safe. Or to keep them hidden. Maz Kanata is one such collector. For over 1,000 years, she has gathered relics and trinkets, storing them in her castle on Takodana. But she is not the only one. There are others. Secret organizations. Underground networks. Even individuals who have dedicated their lives to finding and protecting these objects. But why? Some believe that Force artifacts should be destroyed. That they represent a danger to the galaxy as long as they exist. A Sith holocron in the wrong hands could create a new Darth Vader. A Jedi holocron could be used to manipulate the teachings of the past. Others believe the artifacts should be preserved. That they are records of history, of philosophy, of power that should not be forgotten. To destroy them would be to erase the lessons they teach, both good and bad. And then there are those who seek these artifacts for their own use. Not necessarily for evil, but for understanding. For connection. For the chance to touch something that was once held by someone great. But the galaxy is vast, and many artifacts have been lost entirely. Darth Revan's mask. The Muir Talisman. The heart of the universe. These objects exist in legend, but their physical locations are unknown. Did they fall into forgotten tombs? Were they destroyed by the Jedi? Or are they still out there waiting? And if they are found, what then? Who decides what to do with them? Who has the authority to wield that kind of power? The New Republic? The New Jedi Order? Or does each individual who finds an artifact have to make that choice for themselves? The mystery of lost artifacts is not just about where they are. It's about what happens when they are found. And whether the galaxy is ready for what they contain. Mystery 13: The Darksaber's Origins. There has only ever been one black-bladed lightsaber. The Darksaber. Forged over 1,000 years ago by Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order. But the weapon he created was unlike any other. The blade is flat, angular, almost like an ancient sword. It hums with a different frequency than other lightsabers. And it is heavy. Not physically, but in the Force. Those who wield it without earning it feel its weight grow unbearable. But why is it black? Kyber crystals bond with Jedi, reflecting their connection to the Force. They turn blue, green, purple, yellow, even white. But black? That suggests something fundamentally different about Tar Vizsla's relationship with the Force. Did he somehow merge Mandalorian warrior philosophy with Jedi teachings in a way that had never been done before? Did the crystal itself reflect the duality of his nature? Or is the Darksaber not a Jedi weapon at all? Some scholars believe the Darksaber was created using a technique that predates the Jedi Order. That Tar Vizsla discovered something ancient, something that the Jedi had forgotten or deliberately abandoned. And that the Black Blade is a sign of that forgotten knowledge. What we do know is this: the Darksaber became a symbol of Mandalorian leadership. Whoever wields it has the right to rule. But that right must be earned through combat. The blade cannot simply be given. It must be taken. This suggests the Darksaber has a will of its own. That it chooses its wielder not through bloodline or politics, but through strength and worthiness. And when someone wields it without earning it, the blade becomes a burden. It fights them. It makes them weaker. Bo-Katan learned this the hard way. So did Moff Gideon. Even Din Djarin, a skilled warrior, struggled with the weapon until he understood what it truly required. The mystery of the Darksaber is not just its creation, but its purpose. Is it a weapon? A symbol? Or something far older, masquerading as both? And if Tar Vizsla was the first to create it, could someone create another? Could there be other black-bladed lightsabers hidden away, waiting to be forged? The answer may lie in the ruins of ancient Mandalore, or in the forgotten archives of the Jedi Temple, or perhaps in the hands of someone who has yet to discover what they are capable of. Mystery 14: Maz Kanata and Anakin's lightsaber. When Rey discovered Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber in the basement of Maz Kanata's castle, she asked the question we all wanted answered. "Where did you get this?" Maz's response was simple and maddening. "A good question. For another time." That time never came. So how did Maz acquire the lightsaber that Luke lost when Vader cut off his hand on Cloud City? The weapon fell into the depths of Bespin's industrial sector, plummeting into what should have been an unrecoverable abyss. And yet, decades later, it was in Maz's possession. Did she retrieve it herself? Did someone else find it and bring it to her? Or did the lightsaber somehow call out to her through the Force, guiding her to its location? Maz is no Jedi, but she is deeply attuned to the Force in her own way. She sees people for who they truly are, not who they pretend to be. She recognized Han Solo's inner conflict long before he did. She saw Rey's potential immediately. And she knew the lightsaber was important, even if she couldn't wield it herself. But there's something else at play here. Something deeper. When Rey touched the lightsaber, she experienced a powerful Force vision. She saw fragments of the past and glimpses of the future. She heard voices echoing through time. This was not a normal reaction to touching a lightsaber. Most people feel nothing. Even Force sensitives rarely experience visions from objects. This suggests the lightsaber itself had been waiting for Rey. That it contained echoes not just of Anakin, but of everyone who had wielded it. Luke, Vader, perhaps even Obi-Wan, who kept it safe for decades. Did Maz know this would happen? Did she keep the lightsaber specifically so it would find its way to Rey? Or was it all coincidence, the Force working through her without her knowledge? The mystery of how Maz acquired the lightsaber may never be answered. But perhaps the more important question is why. Why did the Force want Rey to find it? What role did that weapon play in her journey toward becoming a Jedi? And if one lost lightsaber could return, what other weapons are out there, waiting to be found? Mystery 15: Maz Kanata's deeper history. Maz Kanata is over 1,000 years old. She has seen empires rise and fall. She has known Jedi and Sith. She has witnessed the Republic's golden age and its collapse. And through it all, she has remained neutral, a keeper of secrets in a galaxy constantly at war. But how? Most beings who live that long do so through the dark side. Darth Sidious extended his life through unnatural means. Darth Shaun held his body together through sheer hatred. But Maz shows no signs of corruption. She is warm, wise, and at peace with herself. So what is her secret? Some believe Maz's species simply has an extraordinarily long lifespan. Others think she has found a way to slow her aging through the Force, not by perverting it, but by harmonizing with it. And if you whisper that Maz may have visited the world between worlds, stepping outside the normal flow of time. But the deeper mystery is not how she has lived so long. It's what she has done with that time. Maz has connections everywhere. Smugglers, pirates, resistance fighters, even members of the First Order. Her castle was a neutral ground, a place where deals were made and information exchanged. She never took sides, but she always helped those who needed it most. Why? Is Maz simply a survivor, someone who learned long ago that neutrality is the only way to endure in a galaxy of endless conflict? Or is she a guardian, someone tasked with a mission that requires her to outlive everyone else? There are rumors. Whispers in the underworld. Some say Maz was once a student of the Jedi, but left the Order before taking her vows. Others say she was a lover of a Sith Lord, but turned away from darkness before it consumed her. And a few claim she is the last of an ancient order, one that predates both the Jedi and the Sith. Whatever the truth, Maz has seen more than almost anyone alive. She knows secrets that could change the course of history. And yet she chooses to sit in her castle, offering advice to those who seek it, but never interfering directly. Perhaps that is her purpose. To witness. To remember. And to make sure that the lessons of the past are not entirely forgotten. Objects hold memory. Relics carry power. But the greatest mysteries are not the artifacts themselves. They are the places where those artifacts were hidden. The forgotten corners of the galaxy where the Force flows differently. Now we journey to the shadows. To the unknown regions. To the spaces between stars where even the bravest fear to travel. ACT-4, The Galaxy's Hidden Places and Secret KNOWLEDG Mystery 16, The Unknown Regions and Exegol. Beyond the outer rim, past the edge of known space, there lies a vast and terrible darkness. The unknown regions. A place where hyperspace routes twist and collapse. Where gravity wells appear without warning. Where entire fleets have vanished without a trace. And deep within that darkness, hidden behind storms and anomalies, lies Exegol, the Sith Eternal. A cult of loyalists who kept the flame of the dark side burning even after the death of their masters. For decades they worked in secret, building a fleet of star destroyers, each one equipped with a planet-killing weapon. And at the center of it all, in a throne room filled with grotesque machinery, sat Emperor Palpatine. But how did Exegol remain hidden for so long? The planet exists in a pocket of space that is almost impossible to navigate. Sensors fail. Communications cut out. Even the Force feels muted there, as if the planet itself is a void. The only way to reach Exegol is with a Sith Wayfinder, an ancient navigational device that can plot a course through the chaos. But here's the question: who built Exegol? Was it Palpatine, constructing his contingency plan in secret during the height of the Empire? Or was it far older, a Sith stronghold that had existed for thousands of years, waiting for someone powerful enough to claim it? Ancient carvings on Exegol suggest the latter. The architecture is old. The rituals performed there are ancient. The massive statues that line the throne room are monuments to Sith lords whose names have been forgotten for millennia. This suggests Exegol was not created by Palpatine, but discovered by him. That somewhere in his research into the dark side, in his exploration of forbidden texts and hidden temples, he found references to this place. And when he learned of its existence, he made it his own. But if Exegol is ancient, then who used it before Palpatine? What Sith lords walked those halls? What dark experiments were conducted in those laboratories? And most troubling of all, if the Sith Eternal cult was able to operate there for decades without being discovered, what else might be hidden in the unknown regions? The galaxy is far larger than most people realize. And the darkness at its edge is deeper than anyone knows. Mystery 17, The Broader Map of the Unknown Regions. The unknown regions are not simply uncharted. They are unchartable. The space itself resists exploration. Hyperspace routes that work one day fail the next. Stars vanish from sensors only to reappear elsewhere. Entire civilizations may exist there, completely isolated from the rest of the galaxy. But why? Some believe the unknown regions are a natural barrier, created by the chaotic formation of the galaxy itself. Cosmic anomalies, black holes, and unstable hyperspace lanes make navigation nearly impossible. Others think something else is at work. That the unknown regions were deliberately made difficult to traverse. The Chiss ascendancy exists there. A powerful, isolationist empire that has defended its territory for thousands of years. They navigate the unknown regions with ease, using methods that outsiders cannot replicate. Their navigators are force-sensitive children who can see safe pathways through the chaos. But even they cannot map everything. Beyond the Chiss, there are rumors of other civilizations. The Grysk, a species that wages war through manipulation and infiltration. The Vigari, pirates who prey on anyone foolish enough to venture too far from known space. And others, unnamed and unknown, who may be watching the rest of the galaxy from the safety of the void. But perhaps the greatest mystery is this: what drove the first explorers into the unknown regions? Was it curiosity? Desperation? Or were they running from something? Ancient texts speak of a great cataclysm in the galaxy's early history. A war that threatened to consume everything. Some scholars believe that survivors of that war fled into the unknown regions, taking their knowledge, their weapons, and their secrets with them. If that's true, then somewhere in that darkness, there may be technology and power that predates even the Celestials. The unknown regions are not just unexplored. They are a repository of the galaxy's lost history. And perhaps some things are meant to stay lost. Mystery 18. Lothal's ancient technology. Lahal appears to be an unremarkable planet. Grassy plains, small settlements, a few industrial facilities. But beneath its surface lies something far older and far more dangerous. The Jedi Temple on Lahal was not built by the Jedi. It was discovered by them. The structure predates the Jedi Order by thousands of years, possibly tens of thousands. Its architecture does not match any known civilization. Its technology operates on principles that modern science cannot fully explain. And within that temple, there is a doorway. Not a physical door, but a portal. A gateway to the world between worlds, a dimension outside normal time and space. From within that realm, one can observe any moment in history. And with enough knowledge, one can even step through and change the past. But how did the builders of the temple create such a thing? What technology, what understanding of the Force, would be required to literally break through the fabric of time itself? The murals inside the temple offer clues. They depict the Mortis gods. The Father, the Son, and the Daughter. This suggests the temple's builders knew about Mortis, perhaps even visited it. Or perhaps the builders were connected to the same cosmic force that created the Mortis beings. When the Empire discovered the temple, they tried to access it. Palpatine himself sought the world between worlds, understanding that control over time would give him ultimate power. But the temple resisted. It would only open for those who understood the Force deeply enough to navigate its trials. Ezra Bridger succeeded where the Empire failed. He entered the world between worlds and used it to save Ahsoka Tano from death. But he also learned a terrible lesson: the past cannot be changed without consequences. When he tried to save Kanan Jarrus, he was warned that doing so would unravel everything. That some events are fixed points in time, and altering them would destroy far more than it would save. This raises profound questions. If the world between worlds exists, does that mean the Force has a plan? That certain events are meant to happen, no matter what choices individuals make? Or does it simply mean that time is fragile, and meddling with it creates ripples that cannot be controlled? And here's the most troubling question: if Lahal has a temple with access to the world between worlds, are there other temples? Other doorways? Other places where the barriers between past, present, and future grow thin? If so, then the galaxy's history may not be as fixed as we believe. And the future may be more malleable than anyone realizes. Mystery 19. The World Between Worlds. The world between worlds is not a place. It is a state of being. A realm where time has no meaning, where all moments exist simultaneously. To enter it is to step outside the universe itself. The pathways within glow with light, branching in infinite directions. Each one leads to a different moment in time. A different event. A different choice. From within the world between worlds, you can witness Anakin's fall to the dark side. You can watch the destruction of Alderaan. You can see the birth of the Jedi Order and the final fall of the Sith. But you cannot change any of it. Not without consequences. Ezra learned this when he tried to save Kanan. The moment he reached through a portal to alter the past, he heard a voice. Not his own. Not Kanan's. Something older. Something vast and terrible. And it warned him that saving one life could destroy countless others. This suggests the world between worlds has rules. Perhaps even a consciousness. It allows observation, but it punishes interference. Or perhaps it simply reflects the nature of time itself, fragile, interconnected, and dangerous to manipulate. But here's what we don't know: who created the world between worlds? Was it the Celestials, bending reality to their will? Was it the Force itself, creating a space where its own flow could be observed? Or is it a natural phenomenon, a quirk of the universe that just happens to exist? And more importantly, can it be destroyed? Palpatine wanted to control the world between worlds. Ezra closed the portal to prevent that. But does closing one door mean the realm itself is inaccessible? Or are there other ways in? Other temples, other rituals, other Force users who might stumble upon it? The danger of the world between worlds is not just that it allows time travel. It's that it tempts those who enter. Imagine standing at a crossroads where you could save everyone you've ever lost. Where you could undo every mistake. Where you could rewrite history itself. Would you have the strength to walk away? The world between worlds tests not power, but wisdom. And in a galaxy full of beings who crave power above all else, that may be the most dangerous test of all. Mystery 20. The risks of the world between worlds. If one person can access the world between worlds, others can too. And if others can, then time itself becomes a battlefield. Imagine a Sith Lord entering the world between worlds and preventing the Jedi Order from ever being founded. Or a desperate Jedi going back to stop Palpatine's rise before it began. Each change would create ripples, altering events in ways no one could predict. This is why the temple on Lahal remained hidden for so long. This is why its trials were so difficult. The builders understood that access to time itself could not be given freely. It had to be earned. And even then, it had to be used with restraint. But what happens if someone without restraint gains access? The world between worlds could be the galaxy's greatest treasure or its ultimate doom. In the right hands, it could provide wisdom, allowing Force users to learn from the past without repeating its mistakes. In the wrong hands, it could unravel reality itself. And there's another question: does using the world between worlds create alternate timelines? When Ezra saved Ahsoka, did he create a new branch of reality where she died? Or did he simply fulfill what was always meant to happen? The answer to that question changes everything. If the world between worlds creates alternate timelines, then every time someone uses it, they fracture the universe a little more. Infinite versions of reality, each one slightly different, each one splitting further with every change. If it doesn't create alternate timelines, then time is fixed. Destiny is real. And every attempt to change the past is either doomed to fail, or was always part of the plan. Neither answer is comforting. The world between worlds should remain closed. It should remain a mystery. Because some doors, once opened, can never be shut again. And some knowledge is too dangerous to possess. Now the story turns. From cosmic mysteries and ancient places, we move to tragedy. To the fall of orders and the collapse of civilizations. To the wars that shaped the galaxy, and the shadows they left behind. ACTV, War, Collapse, and Shadows after the FALL Mystery 21, The Jedi's Fall and Rebirth Cycle. The Jedi Order has fallen before. Not once, but many times. The Great Scourge of Malacca. The Jedi Civil War. The New Sith Wars. Each time, the Order was nearly destroyed. And each time, it rose again. But why does this pattern repeat? Some believe the Jedi are cursed by their own philosophy. They teach detachment, but sentient beings crave connection. They teach peace, but the galaxy is always at war. They teach balance, but they fight only on the side of the light. These contradictions create tension within the Order, and eventually, that tension breaks. Others believe the cycle is built into the Force itself. That the Jedi represent one extreme, the Sith represent the other, and the universe requires both to exist. When one side grows too powerful, the Force corrects the imbalance. The Jedi fall. The Sith fall. And then both rise again, beginning the cycle anew. But here's the mystery: can the cycle be broken? Luke Skywalker tried. He understood that the old Jedi ways had failed. So he attempted to build something new. A Jedi Order that embraced emotion without being consumed by it. That valued connection without fearing attachment. But his order fell too. Ben Solo became Kylo Ren. Luke's students were slaughtered. And Luke himself went into exile, believing he had failed. Was he wrong to try? Or did he simply not go far enough? Rey stands at the same crossroads now. She carries the Skywalker name, but she is not bound by their bloodline. She has experienced both the light and the dark. She has felt the pull of power and the temptation of revenge. And she chose balance. But can one person break a cycle that has repeated for thousands of years? Or is the pattern too deeply woven into the fabric of the galaxy to ever truly change? The answer may lie not in power, but in understanding. The Jedi must learn from their mistakes. They must acknowledge that balance is not the absence of darkness, but the coexistence with it. They must stop seeing the Force as a weapon and start seeing it as a living, breathing entity that requires respect, not control. If they can do that, the cycle may finally end. But if they cannot, then 1,000 years from now, a new Jedi Order will rise. And 1,000 years after that, it will fall again. Mystery 22: The Fate of Vanished Jedi. When Order 66 was executed, thousands of Jedi died. But not all of them. Some escaped. Some went into hiding. And some simply vanished, leaving no trace behind. Where did they go? The Empire hunted Jedi survivors relentlessly. Inquisitors scoured the galaxy, tracking down anyone with Force sensitivity. And yet, decades later, rumors persist. Whispers of a Jedi living in the Outer Rim. Sightings of a hooded figure wielding a lightsaber on a forgotten world. Are these stories true? Or are they myths, legends created by a galaxy desperate to believe that the Jedi are not truly gone? Some survivors, like Obi-Wan and Yoda, went into exile intentionally. They waited, protecting the next generation, ensuring that the Jedi would rise again. But others may have had different plans. What if some Jedi rejected the Order entirely? What if they saw Order 66 as proof that the Jedi way was flawed, and they chose to walk a different path? There are theories. Unconfirmed reports. Fragments of evidence that suggest some Jedi survivors founded secret enclaves. Hidden communities where Force users could live without being hunted. Places where the teachings of the Force could be preserved, but not in the rigid, dogmatic way the Jedi Council had enforced. If these enclaves exist, what do they teach? Do they follow Jedi philosophy? Sith philosophy? Or something entirely new? And here's the most intriguing possibility. What if some of these hidden Jedi are still alive? What if they have been waiting, watching, preparing for the right moment to reveal themselves? What if they have knowledge, techniques, and wisdom that the new Jedi Order desperately needs? The galaxy is vast. And in its darkest corners, secrets endure. The Jedi may be fewer in number than they once were. But they are not extinct. And as long as even one survives, the Order can never truly die. Mystery 23: Unresolved Clone Wars Decisions. The Clone Wars were not just a conflict between the Republic and the Separatists. They were a web of covert missions, secret operations, and decisions made in the shadows that shaped the outcome of the war. Some of those decisions were never fully revealed. The Republic's intelligence network, led by agents like Kallus and others, conducted operations that history has forgotten. Assassination attempts on key Separatist leaders. Sabotage missions deep behind enemy lines. Diplomatic manipulations that swayed entire star systems to join one side or the other. But not all of these missions succeeded. And not all of them were sanctioned. There are records buried deep in Imperial archives, of clone commanders who disobeyed orders, who refused to execute Jedi during Order 66, who tried to warn their generals before it was too late. Most of these clones were executed by their own brothers. But some escaped. Some went into hiding. What happened to them? Did they live out their lives in anonymity, haunted by what they had seen? Did they join the rebellion, fighting against the empire they had helped create? Or did they take their knowledge to the grave, never speaking of the horrors they had witnessed? And then there are the missions that were completed but never acknowledged. Black operations that the Republic conducted in the name of victory. Atrocities committed by both sides that were conveniently erased from history. War is never as clean as the stories make it seem. The Clone Wars were brutal, and the decisions made during that time created consequences that rippled through the galaxy for decades. Some of those consequences are still unfolding. The mystery is not just what happened during the Clone Wars. It's what we still don't know, and whether those hidden truths will ever come to light. Mystery 24, the Republic's Intelligence Network. Behind every battle, there were spies. Behind every political decision, there were operatives gathering information, manipulating events, ensuring that the Republic stayed one step ahead of its enemies. But who were they? The Republic's intelligence network was vast, but its members operated in secrecy. They had no public names, no official records. They existed in the margins, doing the work that Jedi and senators could not. Some of these agents were human. Some were droids. And some were beings whose species gave them natural advantages in espionage. They infiltrated separatist councils. They planted false information. They assassinated key targets when diplomacy failed. But when the Republic fell and the Empire rose, what happened to these operatives? Some likely joined the Imperial Security Bureau, continuing their work under a new regime. Others may have gone rogue, using their skills for personal gain. And a few, the ones with consciences, may have joined the rebellion, bringing their knowledge and expertise to the fight against tyranny. But here's the mystery: did the intelligence network ever truly disband? Or did it continue to operate in secret, serving neither the Empire nor the rebellion, but some third agenda? There are whispers of a shadow organization that has existed for centuries, predating even the Republic itself. An order of spies and assassins who work to maintain balance in the galaxy, not through the Force, but through information and manipulation. If such an organization exists, it would have agents everywhere. In the New Republic. In the First Order. In every government, every military, every criminal syndicate. They would see everything. Know everything. And act only when necessary to prevent the galaxy from tipping too far in one direction. Are they real? Or are they just another legend, a story told by paranoid conspiracists who see hidden hands behind every major event? The truth is impossible to know. Because if they are real, they would never reveal themselves. And if they aren't real, then the galaxy is far more chaotic than anyone wants to admit. Mystery 25, the Empire's Lingering Remnants. The Empire fell at the Battle of Endor. Or did it? Yes, Palpatine died. Yes, the second Death Star was destroyed. Yes, the Rebel Alliance won a decisive victory. But the Empire was vast. It controlled thousands of star systems. It had millions of soldiers, countless ships, and resources beyond measure. All of that did not simply disappear. In the years following Endor, Imperial remnants scattered across the galaxy. Some became warlords, carving out their own territories. Some joined the New Republic, hoping for amnesty. And some went into hiding, waiting for the right moment to strike back. Moff Gideon was one such remnant. Operating in the Outer Rim, he commanded Imperial forces and conducted experiments with cloning technology, attempting to create Force-sensitive soldiers. He was defeated, but others like him still exist. The First Order was the most organized remnant, rebuilding in the unknown regions under the guidance of Palpatine's followers. They created a new military, new weapons, and a new ideology. And when they emerged, they nearly succeeded where the Empire had failed. But even after the First Order's defeat, Imperial loyalists remain. There are still planets where Imperial flags fly. Still soldiers who wear stormtrooper armor. Still officers who believe in the Empire's vision of order and control. How do you kill an idea? The Empire was not just a government. It was a philosophy. A belief that order is more important than freedom. That security is more valuable than liberty. And as long as people believe that, the Empire will never truly die. The New Republic tried to dismantle imperial infrastructure. They tried to bring war criminals to justice. They tried to rebuild a government based on democracy and peace. But they underestimated how deeply the Empire had embedded itself into galactic society. The mystery is not whether imperial remnants still exist. They do. The mystery is what they are planning. What resources they still control. And when they will strike next. Because history has shown us one thing: the dark side is patient. And it always returns. The wars have ended. The empires have fallen. But the galaxy moves forward, stumbling towards something new. Now we turn to the modern era. To the mysteries that emerged after the fall of the Empire. To the questions that still haunt those who lived through it. ACT 6. The Rise of the New Era. Mystery 26. Snoke's True Identity. Supreme Leader Snoke. Powerful. Deformed. Mysterious. He appeared from the unknown regions, claiming leadership over the First Order and seducing Ben Solo to the dark side. But who was he really? The answer we now know is that Snoke was a creation. A puppet. A clone crafted by Sith Eternal cultists on Exegol, operated by Palpatine himself. But that answer raises more questions than it solves. How long did Snoke exist? Was he created specifically to corrupt Ben Solo? Or had he been active for decades, preparing the First Order's rise? And if he was just a puppet, how much of his personality, his thoughts, his decisions were truly his own? Snoke had knowledge of the Force that few possessed. He could connect minds across vast distances. He could sense disturbances in the Force from light years away. He trained Kylo Ren in ways that even Luke Skywalker had not anticipated. Was all of that programming? Or did Snoke have some level of autonomy? And here's the most disturbing question: if Palpatine could create one Snoke, how many others did he create? Were there multiple versions? Backups, in case one was destroyed? And if so, where are they now? The cloning tanks on Exegol contained many bodies. Some were failed attempts at resurrecting Palpatine himself. But others may have been additional Snokes, or entirely different beings, each one designed for a specific purpose. If those bodies still exist, if those clones can be awakened, then the threat of the Sith is not over. Palpatine may be dead, but his creations may still be out there, waiting. Snoke was a tool. But tools can be picked up by anyone. And in the wrong hands they can still do terrible damage. Mystery 27, Palpatine's Return. How did Palpatine survive the fall down the Death Star's reactor shaft? How did he transfer his consciousness to a new body? And why did it take him decades to reveal himself? The answers lie in Sith alchemy and ancient dark side rituals. Palpatine had been preparing for death long before it came. He created cloning facilities on Exegol, bodies into which his spirit could be transferred if his original form was destroyed. But the process was imperfect. The clone bodies couldn't sustain his power. They decayed rapidly, requiring constant maintenance and the draining of life force from others. Palpatine was trapped in a rotting shell, kept alive only by the machinery of the Sith Eternal and the dark energies of Exegol itself. But here's the mystery: was this always his plan? Or was it a contingency he had hoped never to use? Some believe Palpatine intended to live forever in his original body, using the dark side to extend his life indefinitely. That his fall at Endor was unexpected, a genuine defeat. And his return was a desperate scramble to regain power, not a calculated move. Others believe everything was planned. That Palpatine allowed Anakin to throw him down the shaft, knowing his spirit would survive. That he deliberately stayed hidden for decades, allowing the New Republic to grow complacent, before striking when they least expected it. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Palpatine was brilliant, but not omniscient. He planned for many possibilities, but could not predict everything. His return was both preparation and improvisation. But the deeper mystery is this: if Palpatine could transfer his consciousness once, could he do it again? When Rey struck him down on Exegol, did she truly destroy him? Or did his spirit escape once more, fleeing into the void, searching for another host? Sith Lords have a way of refusing to stay dead. And Palpatine was the most powerful Sith Lord in history. The galaxy may believe he is gone. But belief and truth are not always the same thing. Mystery 28: The Republic's Fragile Rebirth. After the Battle of Endor, the New Republic was born. A government dedicated to democracy, freedom, and peace. But it was fragile from the start. Planets that had suffered under the Empire wanted justice. But justice is complicated. How do you punish millions of Imperial citizens who were simply following orders? How do you rebuild a galaxy that has been at war for decades? How do you create trust when everyone has been betrayed? The New Republic tried. They demilitarized. They focused on diplomacy. They believed that the galaxy wanted peace as much as they did. But they were wrong. When the First Order emerged, the New Republic was unprepared. Their fleet was small. Their response was slow. And when the Hosnian system was destroyed, the New Republic effectively collapsed. Decades of rebuilding, gone in an instant. But why was the New Republic so weak? Some blame political infighting. The Senate was divided between those who wanted a strong military and those who feared recreating the Empire. That division paralyzed them. By the time they realized the threat the First Order posed, it was too late. Others blamed complacency. The galaxy had defeated the Empire once. They assumed they could do it again if necessary. They didn't realize that the First Order was not a remnant of the Empire, but something new. Something more fanatical. And a few whisper that the New Republic was sabotaged from within. That First Order agents infiltrated the government, weakening it deliberately. That key senators were bribed, blackmailed, or assassinated. That the collapse was not accidental, but engineered. If that's true, then the question is, who are the traitors? And are they still in power? The galaxy is trying to rebuild again. But the same problems remain. The same divisions. The same fears. And unless something fundamental changes, history will repeat itself. Mystery 29: Rey's True Significance. Rey is a Palpatine by blood. But she chose to be a Skywalker. That choice defines her. But it also raises questions. What does it mean to carry the name of a family that is not your own? Is identity determined by blood or by choice? And if Rey is the last Jedi, what kind of Jedi will she be? She did not train in the old Jedi ways. She learned from Luke, but Luke himself had rejected much of the old dogma. She learned from Leia, but Leia was never fully a Jedi. Rey's understanding of the Force is instinctive, raw, powerful, but undisciplined. And that may be exactly what the galaxy needs. The old Jedi Order failed because it was rigid. It clung to rules that no longer served the greater good. It feared the dark side so much that it refused to acknowledge the darkness within itself. Rey has no such fear. She faced Palpatine, the embodiment of the dark side, and she did not turn away from her own anger. She used it. She channeled it. And she won. But here's the question: what comes next? If Rey rebuilds the Jedi Order, will she repeat the mistakes of the past? Or will she create something new? Will she teach that the Force is not light or dark, but a spectrum? Will she accept students who struggle with anger, with fear, with attachment, and teach them to balance those emotions rather than suppress them? The mystery of Rey is not who she is. It's who she will become. And whether the galaxy is ready for a Jedi who does not fit the mold of those who came before. Mystery 30: The Future of the Jedi Order. After thousands of years, millions of deaths, and countless cycles of rise and fall, the Jedi Order stands at a crossroads. It can rebuild as it was. Or it can become something entirely new. Luke Skywalker believed the Jedi needed to end. That their time was over. That their legacy was failure. But he was wrong. The galaxy needs the Jedi. Not as warriors. Not as peacekeepers. But as guides. as teachers, as living examples of what it means to be in harmony with the Force. But what does that look like? The old Jedi forbade attachment. The new Jedi must embrace it. The old Jedi feared the dark side. The new Jedi must understand it. The old Jedi served the Republic. The new Jedi must serve the Force itself, not any government or ideology. This is a radical shift. And it will not be easy. There will be those who cling to the old ways, who believe that discipline and detachment are the only paths to wisdom. And there will be others who go too far in the opposite direction, embracing passion so fully that they fall to the dark side. Balance is the answer. But balance is not a destination. It is a journey. A constant effort to hold the center while forces on both sides pull you toward extremes. Rey understands this. She has lived it. And if she can teach it to others, then perhaps the Jedi can finally break the cycle. Perhaps they can endure not for a few generations, but for all time. But the mystery remains, will she succeed? Or will the Jedi Order fall once more, a victim of its own contradictions? Only time will tell. And time, as we have learned, is the most mysterious force of all. And now we come to the end. Not to answers, but to silence. To the stories that were never finished. The threads left dangling. The mysteries that may never be solved. ACT 7, Stories Still UNTOLD Mystery 31, The Fate of Lesser-Known Jedi and Sith. The galaxy's history is filled with names we know. Yoda. Obi-Wan. Anakin. Luke. Rey. But for every hero whose story was told, there are 100 whose stories were not. Jedi Padawans who died before they could take their trials. Sith apprentices who were betrayed by their masters. Force users who walked paths entirely their own, remembered by no one, mourned by none. What happened to them? Some fell in the Clone Wars, their names recorded only in dusty archives that no one will ever read. Others perished during Order 66, cut down in places so remote that no one even knows they died. And a few simply vanished, stepping into the unknown and never returning. There are stories in the margins. Fragments of legends. A Jedi who mastered a Force ability no one else could replicate. A Sith who created a ritual so dangerous that all records of it were destroyed. A Force sensitive who rejected both Jedi and Sith, walking a path that history forgot. These are the untold mysteries. The ones we will never fully understand because the people who lived them are gone, and the records have been lost. But perhaps that's fitting. Perhaps not every story needs to be told. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain mysteries, echoes in the Force that only a few can hear. The galaxy is vast. And in its vastness, there is room for countless stories. Some will be remembered. Most will be forgotten. But all of them mattered. All of them shaped the Force in ways we cannot measure. And perhaps, someday, someone will stumble upon a fragment of one of these lost stories. A holocron in a forgotten temple. A journal in a crashed ship. A whisper in the Force. And when they do, the mystery will begin again. Closing. And so, traveler, we come to the end of our journey. Not to answers, but to deeper questions. Not to conclusions, but to wonder. The Force is vast. The galaxy is infinite. And the mysteries will always remain. Some secrets are meant to be discovered. Others are meant to be pondered. And a few are meant to be left alone, sleeping in the darkness, waiting for someone brave enough or foolish enough to seek them out. But for tonight, let them rest. Let the questions fade. Let the unknown remain unknown. Close your eyes. Breathe. And know that in a galaxy far, far away, the mysteries endure. And perhaps that is exactly as it should be. Sleep well.